DreAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, mindsets, techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, if it does not produce results, don't do it. Damn, I think I'm gonna give myself some credit here. I think I have an uncanny ability for taking very simple concepts and making whole podcast episodes out of them. But I'm gonna explain this in such a way that even though this might sound like a simple idea, something's not producing results for you, you shouldn't be doing it. You can look at your own life, you're gonna notice that maybe you have not been following this. You have not been following this quote unquote common sense. Now, before I get into explaining it, first, let me tell you, I send out a daily motivation text every day, and I want you to receive it. I want to send a daily motivation text just to you. So all I need you to do is text me at my text number and let me know that you agree. My number is 305-384-6894. Once you text me there, you'll be in my text community, and every day, free of charge, straight to your phone, you'll get a message that'll keep you focused, sharp, and on point, guaranteed, or your money back. That number again, 305-384-6894. It is listed down below in the show notes if you're not listening fast enough to hear me say that number. But anyway, today's topic. This is a simple decision-making framework that I'm going to share with you here today that will help you discern what is working and what is not working for you and making the necessary adjustments based on that information. My aim in today's class is for this whole thing to become common sense. I want it to sound so simple and so common sense, while at the same time causing you to ask yourself why you are actually not applying it. So even though this might sound like a simple thing, if something doesn't produce results, don't do it. All right, you're going to be looking at yourself and wondering, damn, like what Dre is saying, I'm not actually applying. So let me check myself. That's the aim that I want to give you here today, is that you start checking yourself based on these things that I'm telling you. So let's get right into it. We don't have to talk about this. We don't have to get too much more of a preamble to this topic. Point number one, the topic, once again, if it does not produce results, don't do it. First, let's get a definition of results, so we all know what we're talking about here, because people have different definitions of phrases and words. So I'm going to give you the definition that we're going to use for today's conversation. What does it mean when I say results? It means a consequence, effect, or outcome of something. A consequence, effect, or outcome. In other words, in order for you to know if something is producing results or not, you must know what is the consequence, effect, or outcome that you are after. If you do not have a target consequence, a target effect, or a target outcome, then you have no basis for measuring results. You have no basis for saying whether something is producing a result or not, because you have no measurement. If you have no measurement, then you have no aim. You have no aim, you have no goals. You have no goals, then it's hard to succeed. It's hard to score a basket without a goal to aim at, right? It's hard to score goals without a goal to kick the soccer ball through. You need a target. What is your target? If you don't know what your target is, then you need to go back, or do not pass go, do not collect $200. You need to go straight to my episodes where I talk about how to set goals, how to figure out what you're actually going after, so you're not out here just grinding blindly like I talked about. Let me tell you what episode that was, where I talked about grinding blindly. That was episode 1697. How to avoid grinding blindly forever and to actually have a plan in life. Many people are out here working hard. They have absolutely no plan, don't know what they're going after. So they're doing all this work, but don't even know where it's supposed to be taking them. So they just keep working, and eventually you're going to die. So they are literally working themselves to death. In episode number 1051, I asked you if your drive matches your goals. In episode 820, I told you to be greedy in going after your goals. In episode 692, this is the one you should listen to first though, is how to set clear goals in life. If you do not have goals and you're not sure how to set them, listen to episode 692. And when you're done doing that, go get yourself your copy of the mental workbook, which if you're watching this on video, you can see the book right behind me, right next to my left ear. You can even see the words workbook right there, that big red book right there. That's the book that you need to get. You can get that as part of the Mental Game Super Duper Bundle when you go to thirddaybook.com. Get the third day. Then on the next page, we're going to offer you the Bulletproof Bundle, which is 4 books. Those are the books you see to to my right, but your left, you're watching this on video, those 3 books there, plus the Mirror of Motivation. And then on the next page, we're gonna offer you the Super Duper Bundle, which is 4 books. One of them is the Mental Workbook. Another one is Work on Your Game. Another one is Bulletproof Mindset. Another one is 30 Days of Discipline. So that's 10 books. Actually, I didn't even mention the system manual. If you check the box when you first get the 3rd day. So that's 10 books you can get when you only showed up for 1. So I'm telling you right now what we're gonna do. We're gonna offer you 10 books. Who reads 1 book? Nobody. So anyway, the Mental Workbook will help you also set goals. Well, listen to episode 692. I'll give it to you for free so you know that I know what I'm talking about. Then go get the Mental Workbook after you verify that I'm credible on this subject. You must have a consequence, effect, or outcome that you are after. The first step, know the results of what you want. I don't care if we're talking about in the gym, if we're talking at work, in your life, in your XYZ, whatever you're doing, what are the results that you are after? Why are you doing this? Then, when you know the result, measure your time and energy investments by whether or not you are getting closer to the result or you are actually achieving the result. That's it. That's a simple way that you measure your effort. Is this effort getting me closer to the thing that I want, or is it not? It usually should be a simple yes or no question. And then based on your answer, you either do more of that thing or you do less of that thing, or you make adjustments and you change certain aspects of it. And this is where, because you might be saying, well, Dre, how do I know how much more or how much less, or how do I know what adjustments to make? This is why you employ the knowledge of other people. Do not try to figure everything out on your own, because even though you could figure it out on your own, if you work hard enough and long enough, the problem is you are on the clock in this whole thing we have here called life. Eventually, you're going to run out of time. So you don't want to try to figure everything out on your own. Leverage the knowledge of other people. This is why you join masterminds. This is why you get coaches. This is why you read books. This is why you go to events. You go and get the information from people who already know what adjustments that you need to make, or who can easily discern what edits need to be made to your process so you don't have to figure it out by yourself. This is the biggest mistake that a lot of hardworking people make, is they think that just because they work hard, they should do everything on their own. This is a bad idea. It is actually a terrible idea. It's not a bad idea. What's worse than bad is terrible. All right, you don't want to be executing too many terrible ideas in your life, because they'll cost you a lot of money and they'll cost you a lot of time. Then you'll be dead and you won't even have time to feel bad about it. Make sure you have a baseline that you're after, and then find someone who can help you achieve that baseline. What is the outcome, the result? I just gave you the definition. Again, there is a clear consequence, effect, or outcome. Then measure your investments by whether or not they're getting you closer. For example, let's say you created a widget. The widget is just a filler word that we use for this is a product that you're selling. Anything that you come up with, your widget. For the purpose of selling it and making a profit. That's why you made it. All right, so you want to sell it and you want to make money on it. All right, so everybody understand? I just gave you the baseline. I just gave you the result. So if giving it away for free, is that going to help you produce your result? Well, there's not enough information yet to answer the question, because if you give away some samples, then maybe some other people will come up and buy it. So yes, it is possible, because how many of you have ever signed up for some software and they give you the first 30 days for free, and if you like it and they're betting that you're going to like it, then they start charging you for it after that? And how many of you are paying for some software right now that at first you got to use the free trial and then you started paying for it? So did giving it away for free get them a customer and make some money? Yes, it did, because you're a paying customer. You are proof that that works. So sometimes giving something away for free does actually make you money, but you have to have a strategy and you must measure to see if it's working or if it's not. So if the answer is yes, then keep doing it. The answer is no, and somebody asks for it for free, what should you do? Let's say somebody asks you for something for free, but you're not giving it away for free. What do? Your job is not to give it away for free out of the kindness of your heart, because the kindness of your heart does not pay bills. What you need to do is serve your result, because you already know what your result is. You have a clear outcome and you sell it to them. So instead of giving it away when they ask for it, you sell it to them, because it will help them for them to pay for it, because they still want to get value out of it. They just had to give up some money in exchange for getting it. They want it, you have it. The only change needed between that, you don't need to change the fact that they want it. You don't need to change the fact that you have it. Only thing that needs to change is, instead of them giving up nothing to get it, they give up some money to get it. That's the only change. Instead of you giving me $0 for it, give me $10, or give me $100, or give me $1,000, or whatever your widget costs. That's the only change you need to make. This might seem like a big thing, but when you really break it down logically and practically and look at what the real thing is that you're dealing with, it's actually very simple, right? And if you can reduce your situations down to the essential issue that you're really addressing, and not make it some big monster in your head like a lot of people do, you can get a lot more things done. All right, and that's where somebody like me comes in. All right, that's why I have this masterclass right here. That's why I have all those books you can see behind me. That's why I have a mastermind program where I can help you address these questions directly in your specific situations in life. in addition to what you get here on the show. You can apply them, you try to apply them on your own through what you hear here, and you can work with me directly and I'll help you apply those. But this is how you break things down and make it simple. You need to know what your outcome is. What is the result? What is the ROI on anything that you're doing? Whose story is stronger? The story of the person who wants your widget for free, or the story of you who wants $100 for your widget? Whoever's story is stronger, that's the one who's going to end up getting what they want. Now, the stronger your conviction in your result, in the need for that result, and the value of them giving you money for the result that you're going to get for them, then the easier you can make the sale. You need to know what their result is too, because your result and their result might not be the same thing. But this is all part of your research and part of your work and part of your job and being the expert or the professional who's making a sale. And I got many episodes here where I talk about being a professional, specifically episode 931. What is expected when the word professional is next to your name? People expect you to know things that they don't know. That's your job. And if you don't know those things, then you just have work to do. Doesn't mean you should quit. It just means you have work to do. And I can help you with that. I just gave you the episode that can help you get started. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is if it does not produce results, do not do it. You must be willing, this is the second point, you must be willing to say no when a proposition is proposed to you that is not taking you where you want to go. Again, I told you at the beginning of this episode that I was going to take a very simple concept and I was going to put it in front of you and show you that even though it sounds very simple and very trite, you're probably not doing it. How often are you saying no to propositions that are not taking you where you want to go? First of all, let's back up. How often are you being offered things that are not taking you where you want to go? And then how often are you saying no to them versus how often you're saying yes, or you're saying you'll think about it, or you're even giving any time, effort, energy, attention, or money to something that you know is not going to take you where you want to go. But instead of saying no, you invest some of your resources in it, even though you knew from the very beginning that the answer should have just been no. How often are you doing this? How often are you committing this faux pas of investment? How often are you doing this? You must be willing to say no when a proposition isn't taking you where you want to be, and be willing to say yes to a proposition that does take you where you want to be, even when you're not exactly sure how it's going to happen. If someone proposes something to you that can take you where you want to go, and you're not quite sure exactly how it's going to work out, you got to be willing at some points in life. I'm not saying every time you got to do this, but you got to be willing at some points in life to step into the unknown. You got to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone into something that is uncertain. We just talked about this a few days ago, and this is all based on your skill of discernment, dealing with the uncertainty that is inevitable to show up in life, and just working with it. Just working with that uncertainty. I just talked about this 3 days ago, how to expand your appetite for uncertainty and trusting. Hopefully the person who's offering you an uncertain situation is someone you trust enough that even though it's uncertain to you, if they're certain enough, you can move yourself to action. And if their story is strong enough, their energy is strong enough, it will overpower your uncertainty and move you to action. I mean, if you really think about this, how many times in life have you done this? You've been uncertain about how something was going to work out, but the person that you were trusting, they were more certain than you were, so you decided, all right, I'm gonna put my trust in you and let's just see how this works out. And did it work out? If it did, then you should trust that person over and over again. If it didn't, then hey, maybe you might be a little bit questionable on that individual moving forward. But this is a judgment call, what I'm telling you here in point number 2. Say no when you are sure that a proposition will not take you where you want to go, i.e. produce the desired result, and say yes when you are sure, or at least you're 51-49 sure that it will take you where you want to go, even though you're not exactly sure of every single step in the process. But if you were exactly sure of every single step in the process, you wouldn't even be asking a question now, would you? You would already be doing it, right? So many of the things that, and this is a point within the point here, many of the things that are going to take us where we want to go in life, we are not 100% sure of every single step in the process. Because if you really think about it, you would already be doing it. But the things that we're sure won't work, we're pretty sure of those, and that's why we say no. It's so easy for us to say no. So the stuff that's going to take you forward, there's going to be uncertainty. It's damn near inevitable there will be uncertainty. I just told you about this in episode 2058 3 days ago. Things that will help you advance in life, there will be uncertainty, there will be anxiety, there will be questions, there will be a lot of unknown, and you have to have the courage, you got to have the confidence, you got to have the mental toughness, you got to have the balls to go and do it anyway, even though you're not quite exactly sure how it's going to work. Because if you knew how it was going to work, you would already be doing it. How many times we got to say that? This is a judgment call, folks. This is where your judgment comes into play. In episode 1431, The topic was discernment, your skill of perception and judgment. Your ability to look at a situation in which you don't have all the facts, you don't have everything in black and white, and you have to make a judgment call because you will never have all the facts and information until you take an action, until you make a decision. And you got to make that decision. And sometimes you'll be right, sometimes you'll be wrong. But hopefully the times that you're right will far outweigh the times that you were wrong. That's the game of life. That's the game of being a human. Now, I personally, I'll tell you one way that this can be applied. I've been on many podcasts. I don't mean my podcast, but on other people's shows as a guest on other people's shows. And I often get people who come to me after my recording and they will say something like, hey, could you give me, I had this happen a few times. And it actually is not even always as from a podcast, but it could be from anything. People see that I have this book. I say, I'll give you the third day, I'll give you a copy of the book for free. And sometimes people see that and they extrapolate the offer and they say, well, all right, I had somebody come to me recently. This just happened this week, as a matter of fact. Somebody came to me and asked me for 60 copies of the third day. And they said, well, we'll pay for the shipping for the 60 copies of the book. So they extrapolated the concept of me giving you one copy of the book for free to I'll just give you 60 copies for free. And they were just going to pay for the shipping. That did not happen. It did not happen. I did not send that person 60 copies of that book for free. But I did send that person a different proposition. But the whole point is, I had to make a judgment call in that situation. Is it possible that I can give 60 copies for free away to a certain group of people, and it might actually be a good investment for me to take that, make that investment up front? It's not even a loss, the investment up front because of what I could make on the back end. Yes, it is. But I had to make the judgment call as to when is that a good decision and when is it not a good decision? Because somebody might come to me and ask me for 60 copies, and I might say yes. And there are other people who ask me for 60, and I might say no. Why? Judgment call, discernment. It is my ability to size up the situation, size up who or what is asking, and me to decide, is this a good investment or is this a bad investment? Why? Because I'm a business person. I know what my outcome is. So I know, since I have a baseline, it's easier for me to make judgment calls. Now, again, I don't have all the information. I don't know what's going to happen if I say yes. I don't know what's going to happen if I say no. Well, actually, I know what's going to happen if I say no, nothing. But if I say yes, I don't know if I'm actually going to make the money back. I'm just discerning that I'll make the money back. Doesn't mean I will. And I might make a bad investment and end up losing on that one. And now I get more information, activity knowledge from that situation. So now next time something that looks and smells like that comes up, now I have better information and I have better judgment. My judgment has gotten sharper through experience. And usually our judgment gets sharper through bad experiences, L's that we take, as we say, or losses for those of you who don't know the lingo. So when someone asked me a question like that, I had to discern, all right, is this a good idea or is this not a good idea? Sometimes I get people who come to me and ask me for something and they don't want to make any kind of investment, and they also don't even offer me any type of return on my investment. They usually ask me for some form of my time, and they don't offer me any kind of return on investment, and usually my answer is no. But there are times, I'm also going to be clear, there are times when I will make that investment and they're not offering me any direct return on investment. They don't even try to sell me on a return on investment. Maybe they just assume that I know what it is, or maybe they don't give a damn. And I end up making money on the back end. I'll give you another prime example. Any of you who has read this book, it's part of the Work on Your Game super duper bundle called Work on Your Game. The way that this book came to be, I actually wrote about it in the book. I was speaking at a conference a few years ago. It was in Atlanta, Georgia, and I live in Miami. And I traveled to Atlanta. I crossed state lines, traveled to Atlanta, and spoke at this conference. And they did not pay me to speak there. They did not pay for my hotel. They did not pay for my travel. They did not pay for, what else did they not pay for? Anything else that it costs money when you travel, they didn't pay for it. All right, they did not pay me a single dime, not one. They offered that I could sell some of my books in their bookstore. So I did do that. And I made some money from selling some of my books in their bookstore. Now, Work on Your Game didn't exist at that point. But I gave that speaking gig. And when I stepped off the stage, a bunch of people approached me. A person approached me from the NBA and said, Dre, we want you to do some speaking gigs to our teams in the NBA, which I did do, and I made money on it. I got all my return on investment just off that one connection from that one person in the room. As a matter of fact, that person approached me before I even gave my speech. They already knew they wanted me to work for them even before I gave my speech. Now, my speech was good, on top of the fact they had already asked me, but I made my ROI before I even got on the stage. Then a person approached me, this is after my speech, the person approached me from the NCAA, and they said, well, we want somebody to come speak to one of our events. It wasn't for the players or the athletes, it was for the employees of the NCAA. That became another return on investment. Then there was a person who approached me and said, Dre, well, I've seen you written all these books. Have you ever thought about writing a book with a traditional publisher? And I said, as a matter of fact, I have. And I said, as a matter of fact, the speech that I just gave, because at that conference, the speech I gave was called Work on Your Game, How to Apply the Pro Athlete Mindset to Work into Life. I said, the speech that I just gave, miss, I want to write a book on exactly that. She said, okay, give me a call. She gave me a business card. That conversation lasted all of 20 seconds, became this book right here. And they paid for this. All right, there was a big return on investment for me going there. And the event that I spoke at, again, the people who came up to me after I spoke, they did not work for the event. The event that booked me to speak did not offer me any money. They did not pay for anything. They did not cover any expenses. They offered absolute zero. Only thing they gave me that was actually, they gave me two things that were worth money. They gave me the full video of my presentation, which I still leverage to this day. And the other thing they gave me was a platform and an opportunity in front of an audience of people who could produce the return on investment that I needed. But the thing is, I had no idea, and there was no guarantee that I was going to get that return on investment until I went and did the thing. So there was uncertainty there. So I had to use my skill of discernment, my judgment call. Is this worth it or is it not? And I made the decision and it ended up working out. And as a matter of fact, I just a week and a half ago, this same event just asked me to come speak there again. So in the summer of 2022, I'm going to be speaking at their event again. It's not in Georgia this time. This time is in Orlando, so no crossing state lines. So the whole point is this. Sometimes you have to make that discernment call when it's a situation that could work out for the better, or it might end up being a nothing burger, as Kevin O'Leary says on Shark Tank. But if you're not willing to step forward into that uncertainty, like we talked about 3 days ago, then you're probably holding yourself back from ever creating success. Point number 3. The topic once again today is if it does not produce results, don't do it, or at least you don't think it will. Number 3, if something that you are doing or have been doing is not producing the desired result so far, you're doing it now, but it's not working, stop doing it. Now, I told you, today's episode, I'm going to take some really simple ideas and I'm going to make a whole episode out of it. If it's not producing results, stop doing it. Now, you have to know what your result is so that you can answer this question. Either edit the action or delete the action and seek help if necessary. If something is producing the desired result and it's something that you weren't even doing on purpose, then your job is to deconstruct and figure out, all right, what about that situation made this work out so that I can do it over and over again? You ever stumbled into some success by accident? You didn't even know what you were doing, but then it worked out. You're like, damn, that worked. I wonder hopefully you asked yourself the question, what did I do that made that happen so that I can do it on purpose the next time and I can create the success over and over and over again. So any of you, if you think about your life, think about some of the best successes you've had in the area that you're focused on right now and ask yourself, even if that success was by accident, you didn't plan it, it just happened, what led to that success? So then you can deconstruct and you can do it over and over again. Professionals are able to repeat their success, folks. They do it over and over again, not just one time. They can do it over and over again. Their inputs are consistent. Their actions are duplicatable and their results are predictable. That's what pros do. The same things, the same way, every time. I told you about this that was episode number 2013. Same things, the same way, every time. Find out why a certain action produced results, even if you didn't mean to do it. For the purpose of now recreating that outcome, this time you do it intentionally. This is why you hear people who do live events, people who give speeches, or people who sell courses, people who write books. They explain that they had to figure out a path for their success. But now that they figured it out, they deconstructed the path, they codify it, so now they can teach it to everybody else. So now you can get the results much faster with much less guesswork. So when I tell you things about this book, Work on Your Game, or about my book, The Third Day, or when I talk about anything that I do here, any episode that I talk about here on this podcast, what's the purpose of me telling you this? These are things that I've already figured out and thought about deeply. I've deconstructed them in my own mind. So now I can explain them to you, and it doesn't take you 5 years to figure it out the way it took me 5 years of experience to understand it. Now you can understand in 30 minutes what it took me 5 years to figure out. So I have shortened your learning curve. The only differentiator between me and you is now how quickly are you actually going to apply what I told you, and do you trust that I'm telling you something that actually works? I know it works because I had to go through real life to figure it out. You only had to listen to a podcast or watch a YouTube video, so do you trust it? That's up for you to decide. That is up for you to discern, actually, is a better way I should say that. All people who sell knowledge, infopreneurs or thought leaders, people who sell intellectual property, all we're doing is codifying what we already know. That's episode 1101, codification, so that other people can get the results faster with less guesswork. That's it. When I wanted to play overseas basketball coming out of college, there was no process for me to follow. No one had codified the process. I tried a whole lot of different stuff, a lot of stuff. Much of it did not work. A few things did work. And when I found those things out, I paid attention to what did work. And then I realized at a certain point, I had gathered enough information and credibility that I could teach other people how to do it. And then I wrote a book called The Overseas Basketball Blueprint. You can see it over my left shoulder, that blue book right there, The Overseas Basketball Blueprint. So now there was less randomness for everybody else. When I wanted to give speeches leveraging my background in sports, I had to try a whole bunch of stuff so I could figure out the framework that became the work on your game philosophy. I tried a lot of things before I landed on what I do now. Now it sounds all polished and smooth, but it wasn't like that when I first started. Actually, when I first started, there was no it. There wasn't anything. I had to come up with this. Now I can teach people how to make their own framework, and I can even do it for them. I've just gotten better at it because I'm doing it over and over and over again. Like I said, same things, the same way every time. These are principles, folks. They work no matter who you are, where you go, and how you are applying them. Let's recap today's class, which is, if it does not produce results, do not do it. This is a simple decision-making framework for discerning what is working and what is not, and making the necessary adjustments. First, let's be clear. What does result mean? It is a consequence, effect, or outcome of something. So your first step is you have to know what your result is. If you don't know what your result is, then you have no way of discerning whether you should do something or not do it. So get clear on what your outcome is. Number two, be willing to say no when a proposition that is not taking you where you want to go is presented to you. And be willing to say yes when a proposition appears that it could, even though you don't know exactly how it's going to work out. Because again, if you already knew exactly how something was working, then you wouldn't have questions. You would just be doing what you need to be doing. This is a judgment call. I talked about this in episode 1431. You have to have very sharp and strong judgment, and usually that is developed through bad decisions. So make more decisions and you will get better at judgment, guaranteed. Point number three, if something you are doing or have been doing is not producing the desired result, cease doing that thing. Make edits to it or completely delete it. Seek help if necessary from some discerning eyes that can see what you can't see and know what you do not know. This is exactly what, and anyone who is selling intellectual property, they're selling their knowledge and information, all they're doing is taking what it took them years to figure out, and they're shortening the learning curve for everybody else. They have basically codified their learning process. They took 5 years and cut it down to 5 minutes. A decade and cut it down to 3 hours, or a 1 hour speech, whatever it's going to be. See episode 1101 where I explain codification. You can get to this point as well as long as you go through enough of certain situations in life to where you can break them down and you can produce a certain desired result that other people want. That's a very important point. You have to know what other people want, not just what you want. And we just talked about this in the episode on who, what, and why, which was yesterday. You see how all this stuff connects, right? I can go on and on, but I'll do that tomorrow. So let me tell everyone, you want to get my daily motivation text, hit me at this number, 305-384-6894. And if you would like to work with me, you want to be able to work with me directly and with a bunch of other forward-moving, forward-thinking professionals who are serious about their game, who want to create those frameworks, want to get clear on their mindset, want to get clear on their process in business, get clear frameworks for how they can take their knowledge and transfer it to other people and not just give it away, but sell it, then you better be in my Bulletproof Mastermind. It's my group coaching program. We do a live training every single week with me at the helm. All questions get answered. Everybody gets what they need out of that mastermind. Guaranteed, you will want to stick around. You will want to bring friends. Get all the information, and you can join right now by going to the link down below. It is at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.